class. In our last class, we learned about computer systems, and in computer systems, we classified softwares. We classified softwares into two, whereby we say the softwares according to purpose. You can have the application and the system softwares. So, operating system is a good example of a system software, which we say it manages the computer, basic hardwares, and resources. So, operating system, as we are seeing, is an example of system software, and we have said it manages computer hardware and resources. Then you will see examples of operating systems. We have several of them. We have the Windows, we have Android, we have Macintosh, Linux, Unix. However, you will find that mostly the one that we use in computers is the Windows. That's the one that we mainly use. As we are going to see, the operating system does not help the user directly like the application softwares. We say the application softwares will help the user to accomplish a specific task. But for the operating system, the user does not interact with the operating system directly. So, as you see in the functions of the operating system, we will see how it helps the user and how it helps the application softwares. We can have a very good diagram here that will show us how the relationship between the operating system, the hardware, application, and the user. So in this diagram, we have the user at the top there. Down here, you have the application softwares. Here down we have the operating system. You come here. Operating system. And down there we have the hardware. So as you are going to see, the arrows shows the communication in the operating system. You find that the user will interact with the application software directly. The operating system will come here, whereby it is installed in the hardware. So even when you are creating or when you are developing computers, you start by creating the hardware, which you see is the physical or the tangible components of a computer. So the hardware, after you develop the hardware, you install the operating system, and I have given examples of operating system. So after installing the operating system, then you install the application softwares, which we say will help the user directly to accomplish a specific task. And up there we have the user who will now interact with the application softwares directly, but the user cannot interact with the operating system directly. Having seen that, we can now move to functions of the operating system. Why is it there? Why do we require the operating system? Somebody will ask. So you find that somebody will ask, what the function of the operating system? It is not helping us directly. So why do we need it? And this question will be answered when we are looking at the functions of the operating system. So number one, you will find that the operating system houses the application software. It houses application software. So it houses the application software. When you say it houses, it means that you cannot be able to install the application software in the hardware. Therefore, it acts as the one that will house the application software. Another thing it does is resource allocation. Resource allocation. In resource allocation, somebody will ask which are these resources. So examples of resources, we have the mouse, we have the printers. So for the communication to happen between a computer and, for example, a resource like a printer, there must be an operating system. Without the operating system, the computer cannot be able to communicate with the keyboard, mouse, printers, modems. Those are the ones that we are calling resource allocation. That's why, for example, when I try to print something, the computer is able to communicate from the computer and the printer. So resource allocation is another one. We have the processor scheduling. Processor scheduling is another function of the operating system. Processor scheduling. So when we talk of the processor, we say it is another term for the CPU. Remember the CPU? CPU, we say that is the brain of the computer. So for the brain of the computer, at times we say that the computers can multitask, or they can do more than one processes at one time. Therefore, it is the work of the operating system to know what is going to be processed first and what is going to wait. Because, for example, if the computer can be processing like 5 processes at a go. Therefore, it is for the operating system to allocate or to give priorities of these processes. So this one will come first, this one will wait. It will be allocated time, how much time is a process going to take before another process gets into the CPU or the processor. We have the inputs and outputs management. So this one is very close to the resource allocation. So when we talk of inputs and outputs, we already see so that the inputs in a computer are the devices that we use to key in data in a computer. The outputs are the ones that give us information after the processes. And therefore, you find that the peripheral devices, when you talk of peripheral devices, is any device that has been connected outside the computer. It is not inside. So any device that has been connected outside the computer, for example, we have the keyboards, modems. So those are inputs and outputs, and others for communication. Like the modem is used for communication. So for the communication to happen, using a modem, for example, there must be the coordination, the management done by the operating system. The operating system still will handle error handling. Error handling. When you talk of errors, this is where you find that when you are doing something in the computer, then you don't get the result. Instead, you are given a dialog box telling you this one has there is an error here. This has been deleted. For example, you are searching for a file that was not, or it has been deleted. You try to open, and then it will not open, and it will give you a dialog box. So it is the work of the operating system to give us the errors that has occurred. At times, a certain program has crashed. That is an error. You are having an application software, for example, the word processor or the Microsoft Office. Maybe something happened, and then the software is not in good condition, and therefore the operating system will give you an error message. So that is error handling. It will give you a message telling you there is something that is not working well. And last but not least, we look at interrupt handling. Interrupt handling is our last function of the operating system. Interrupt. So in interrupt handling, maybe there is the break of communication. You are communicating with a certain device, and then something in the communication or in the process happens and causes an error. Still, this kind of an error, an interrupt. So something has interrupted the process that you are trying to carry out. So the job of the operating system to help in such critical conditions. So it's work of the operating systems to help. Then we can look at types of the operating systems. Types of the operating system.